Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin bubble news channel. And the thought that scanning our faces to vote is kind of creepy. If we can use driver's licenses or other forms of ID, why can't we? Anyway, why does it have to be all of a sudden that this ID nonsense is being rolled out not only in the US but also in the EU and the UK? Chile is where it is, spreading it all over. Well, generally, and it's clear that it's a world plan. The UN's Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals are built around this idea. So this is how they're selling it to the American people as a way to fix problems with voter ID and illegal immigration, which once more was allowed to happen. It was obviously done on purpose. The World Economic Forum, which was run by Klaus Schwab, put out a report in June 2023 called Reimagining Digital ID. The study looks into how a global, decentralized digital ID system could help people and groups who don't have traditional forms of ID get better access to services. It makes a point of saying that these decentralized IDs will use cryptography, digital wallets, and other related technologies to let many groups issue identities and let people control their own data. Issuers, holders, and verifiers are all part of the suggested system, which is meant to create a trust triangle. Verifiers, such as employers, banks, and governments, will look at these attestations to see if holders meet certain standards. Verifiers could be social media sites, local election boards, or even governments. But critics say that the providers could include big Silicon Valley companies that are known for not being careful with personal data. The World Economic Forum says that over 100 experts from around the world worked together to make the study. That was, after all, the strategy of libertarians before, right? People thought, let's get rid of all the things that were put in place after 9/11s that are bad for our freedoms, like the TSA. But now we have a privatized version of the CIA through companies like Anduril and Clearview AI, as well as other things that are linked to Peter Thiel or another Silicon Valley oligarch. Also, why do we need to scan our faces to vote? Why can't we just use driver's cards or other forms of ID that are physical? Why did they have to start using biometrics all of a sudden? They're not just using them in the US right now, they're also using them in the EU, the UK, Chile, and all over the world. And it's clear that it's a world plan. It is one of the main ideas behind Agenda 2030 and the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. It's also a big part of Interpol's global policing goals, which means that almost every country in the world is a member of Interpol. So this is how they're selling it to the American people as a way to fix problems with voter ID and illegal immigration, which once more was allowed to happen. It was obviously done on purpose. So both sides work together to make that happen. For example, biometrics at the border and digital ID are shared goals between the two parties. One makes the problem, and then the other comes along with the answer that everyone wants because the problem got so bad. I believe this will happen with both biometric digital ID and programmable surveillance available cash. As an answer to all of our problems, you'll see this in almost everything that is sold to you. What the solutions really do is raise surveillance and bring us closer to the techno-tyranny that was built by the national security state working closely with the private sector, especially Silicon Valley, long before 9/11s. But after that, it clearly got much stronger in very important ways. Also, you know all of that. The framework for the war on domestic terror was created by the Biden administration. It says that anyone criticizing any type of capitalism, even shareholder capitalism, can now be seen by the federal government as a domestic terrorist. Stakeholder capitalism by Larry Fink and Klaus Schwab is not something you like then. Sorry about that. And also people who think the government is doing too much. Sorry about that. That's not appropriate. Yes, but over the last 20 years or so, we've seen that after one administration puts things in place, the next administration of the other party builds on top of them. And we've come to this point where the tools for a very bad techno-tyranny are almost ready to be put in place. It seems like a big effort is being made to fake permission so that a lot of people support it as the only way to solve the problem. This worries me a lot because Peter Thiel gives a lot of money to most of the most important speakers in alternative media. His interests in Rumble, which is marketed as an alternative to YouTube and other things, are also dominated by him. I mean, that should really worry people, since it has to do with Palantir and all this data mining stuff. The CEO of Palantir is like, I don't like Christian conservatives also, they've all been pushed onto Rumble. Because both of them are connected to Peter Thiel, can we trust that your Rumble account, the videos you watch, the ones you like, and what you say in the comments don't get sent to Palantir? Someone should ask the Rumble people that question, because I don't know. Well, it's been that way for a few years now. Very few people talk about Thiel or Palantir because he gives so much money to alternative media. Hopefully that will change, but the point is that, yes, the US government is bad, but people need to really consider what's at stake and how many times this country can choose the lesser of two monsters in an election. We should really ask ourselves if we want to keep going with the same bipartisan surveillance police state plan no matter who wins the election. Do we really want to fight and stop this that way? I don't think so, but people tell me I love Democrats and have Trump derangement syndrome whenever I say something sensible about this bipartisan blob that has been destroying our society and putting in place all of these Orwellian technologies and policies for decades. Unfortunately, I don't like any leader. They've never had my support. I am uncertain. I believe they are all part of organized crime. That's what I've been very clear about. Apparently, though, you can't think that both are bad anymore in some places. In addition to Instagram, they also run Truth, X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and all the other networks you use. These networks are all run by very similar people who are connected with each other. Plus, it's even more interesting when you see the VC stuff behind it. Insanely many people are connected to all of these networks, not to mention the ISPs. That's when you realize there is a plot against our view through the content algorithms that these data barons control and change. So now here we are. Additionally, I must say that I have personally witnessed the phase shift in action. People are cheering for Milei as he turns the country into a dollar zone and sells all of its minerals to Israel. And then he gets JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and all these other people to help his team and takes away their power to print money. Surely he is allowed to print money. People are losing a tool that they could use to do something. Yes, it's been hacked by goblins from the private sector who have jumped into the public sector when it suits them, but these are tools that people should have. You ought to be able to make money if we believe in a free market. You ought to be able to make money, but we're being so closely watched. I think we have no idea what's going on because our responses are so created by stimuli. In the case of Milei, I'd like to say that the game seems to be, if you look at important people in the fintech space in Argentina and this larger network that Mark and I have now written a couple of pieces about. Writing about the plan, they want to make steady coins that are backed by goods, like grain exports from Argentina. That being said, he might get rid of the central bank or something similar at some point. Instead, there will be stable coins that are tied to commodities and whoever owns those commodities. In Argentina, as in every other Latin American country, I can tell you that they are all oligarchs, so there is a very small link. There's a small group of billionaires who have been running those countries for a long time. They own the commodities and will pretty much take the place of your central bank.